This is Audible.
And now, Part 2 of Fading, written by E.K. Blair and read by Piper Goodeve.
Chapter 20.
What are you going to do for the next few weeks?
Ryan asks as we unload some firewood from his Jeep. I figured since I was going to be alone for Christmas break, I could at least make it as festive as possible, with a tree and wood for the fireplace. I called Ryan to go with me to the tree lot, since his Jeep is big and could hold everything I wanted to buy. I don't know. This is the first year that Jace isn't here with me. We normally spend most of the break together when I'm not at my parents'.
How is that going?
Stacking the firewood in the garage, I say. It's not, really. I spoke with my father for the first time since Thanksgiving a few days ago, and he wants me to come over for dinner Christmas Eve.
You haven't spoken with them for all this time?
No. We walk out to grab another load of wood. Kimber and Jace both left as soon as they were finished with finals, so I've been picking up a lot of extra shifts at work this past week to keep myself busy. Ryan and I have been spending more time together. He continues to show affection with me by holding my hand or putting his arm around me while watching TV. But that's about it. I'm not sure about my feelings for him, but I'm pretty sure that he sees me as more than his friend. Sure, I'm affectionate with Mark and Jace, but they are non-threatening to me. When Ryan and I were out getting coffee earlier this week, we ran into a girl that Ryan must have dated in the past. He seemed really uncomfortable talking to her in front of me, but she seemed more than comfortable with him. It didn't make me jealous, but it made me a little more guarded. Ryan is a good-looking guy, so I shouldn't be surprised that he has dated a lot of girls. I'm just not sure what a lot actually means. Part of me doesn't really want to know.
So, you're going over to see them then?
Well, yeah. I don't really want to, but it's Christmas and all. I'm just a little scared about how it will all go. The last time I saw them, we said some pretty nasty things to each other, and I have never gone this long without talking to them.
What are they so upset about?
Back inside the house, I pour a glass of wine, and Ryan takes a beer from the fridge. Everything. Turns out, I've been nothing but an embarrassing disappointment to them all along. Ryan lets out an irritated sigh as we take our drinks and head into the living room. We sit down on the couch, and Ryan slides his arm around my shoulders, pulling me next to him.
I'm sorry, babe,
he says quietly, and I notice his term of endearment. I try not to act flustered, but he has never said anything like that to me before. It's things like this that he does that confuse me. The friendship that we have has been eased into pretty naturally. I have never questioned him about it, and I find myself liking it. Honestly, it's nothing that I didn't already know deep down, but it was the first time that it actually hit me that these were their true feelings toward me.
I don't want you going over there.
His statement catches me off guard, and I look up at him. I can see it written all over his face, that he's nothing but serious. Ryan, I have to. They're my parents.
I don't care. I don't want you going over there for them to treat you like shit.
Letting out a sigh, I lean back and rest my head on his chest. I'm not sure why this upsets him so much, but I can't not go see my parents at Christmas. I have to go, I softly whisper. It's Christmas, and I really should be there. I'm only going for dinner. That's all.
Then I'm going with you.
I pull away from him and turn to look at him straight on. What?
I don't want you going alone, Candace. I'll go with you.
I shake my head and say, I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, I don't think it's a good idea that you're going. So we can argue about this, or you can just say okay.
I sit there looking at him, surprised that he would even care so much about this. But he's right. I don't see him backing down, so instead of fighting him on this, I turn and lean back into him. Okay.
And I don't want you spending Christmas alone either, so why don't you come with me? I could use the distraction at the madhouse.
What? No, thanks, but I'll be fine.
I'm sure you will be fine, but I don't like the thought of you sitting here alone, so you're coming with me.
Ryan, it feels weird.
Why?
Because. It just does. I know you have a big family, and I just don't want to intrude. He shifts to face me and says,
It's not an intrusion. My family isn't like that.
I look down and take a moment before saying, Okay, but no gifts. It makes me uncomfortable.
Why's that?
I don't know. It just always has. Please, I say in a serious tone.
Okay, no gifts. But just so you know, I have a shit ton for the kids,
he says with a chuckle. I smile and we sit back, kicking our feet up onto the coffee table. So, when did you start making all the rules?
When you started making me worry about you.
I don't respond to his statement. I don't know how to respond. The protectiveness of his words confuses me, but they make me feel good. Instead, I just sit there next to him and stare at the undecorated tree by the front window and worry about Ryan meeting my parents. I have been on edge all day, thinking about how dinner will go tonight. I'm nervous because the last time I saw my parents, it didn't go so well, and nothing has been discussed or resolved. I'm also nervous about Ryan meeting them. I know my mother will jump to conclusions and assume we are dating, and that will not go over well, since I know she will be judging him and measuring him up to her unreachable standards. When I see Ryan's black Rubicon pull up in front of my house, I slip on my coat and head out. He gets out of the car to help me into my seat. When we pull away, he must have picked up on my nerves when he says, "Relax." Feeling the need to warn him, I say, "Ryan, you need to know that..." But he doesn't let me finish when he interrupts me and repeats, "Candace, relax." They're just very judgmental people.
There is nothing that they can say that I haven't heard before,
he says, and I wonder what he means by that. Is he referring to his parents? I know he is close with his mother, so I assume maybe his father has something to do with his statement. Ryan has never mentioned his dad. I figure his parents are divorced, and he just isn't close with him, but I have never asked. I start fidgeting and twisting my hands when he pulls into the gates of the Highlands. He reaches over and lays his hand on top of mine to calm me, but it doesn't help. When he pulls into my parents' circle drive and shuts off the car, I don't get out. We both sit there for a moment when Ryan asks,
"You ready?"
"Yeah," I breathe out.
"Bunny!"
My dad beams as we walk through the door. His candor is not what I expected, and he pulls me in for a big hug.
"You look beautiful, dear."
He turns to Ryan and shakes his hand.
"And you must be Ryan. Thanks for joining us. Come in."
Turning back to me, he says,
"Your mother is finishing getting ready. She should be out shortly."
We walk back into the kitchen, and my father asks,
"What can I get you two to drink?" "A beer is good, Mr. Parker." "Please, call me Charles."
My father hands Ryan a bottle of beer and pours me a glass of red wine.
"Why don't we go to the library and visit while we wait for your mother?"
As we are walking through the house, Ryan keeps a supportive hand on my back, and I appreciate the gesture.
"So, Ryan, what is it that you do?"
my father asks as we all sit down.
"I own a bar right off campus." "Oh, how did you get into that type of work?" "Long story short, after I graduated college, I couldn't seem to find a job with the economy, so I just sort of fell into this business deal. It's been working out nicely, though, so I can't complain." "What did you study in college?" "Finance."
"Now that's a respectable degree," my mother says as she walks into the room, heels clicking against the wooden floor. I cringe inside at her passive-aggressive statement. When she approaches, I stand to give her a quick embrace. "Hi, Mom."
"Good to see you, darling. And Ryan, welcome."
Ryan stands to take her hand and says,
"Thank you for having me." "Of course. It isn't every day that our daughter brings a man home."
I roll my eyes, and Ryan sits down next to me and squeezes my knee. I know this is going to end in disaster already. My mother's words are like poison, and I'm beginning to question why I even came.
"Ryan was just telling me about the bar he owns,"
my dad tells my mother. "A bar?" Before I allow my mother to make some snarky comment, I jump in. "So when are the two of you leaving for Colorado?" My parents own a cabin in Aspen and go there every year after Christmas. They begin to talk about what they have planned for their trip this year, and I sit back and listen to them go on and on. It's pretty much the same every year. As I take the last sip of my wine, my father says, "Bunny, why don't you show Ryan around? I need to talk with your mother about something. We will leave in about 30 minutes. "Okay, sure." I walk Ryan around the house and then outside to show him the view of the Sound. "I'm sorry about that," I say.
"About what?"
"They can be a lot. They're pretty pretentious."
"Candace, no one has perfect parents. Everyone's flawed in some way."
We walk back to the covered patio and sit down on one of the benches. I tie my scarf tighter around my neck, and Ryan wraps his arm around my shoulders.
"So, you grew up here in Shoreline?"
he asks. "Yeah, in this very house. The Kellys, who live across the street, have a daughter that's the same age as me. We used to be best friends when we were growing up."
"And now?"
"And now, all I really have is Jace, Mark, and you."
"What about your roommate?"
"Kimber? We used to be really close, but not so much anymore."
"So what happened to all your friends from high school?"
"They've moved on, applying to grad schools, getting married, making a life for themselves. Most of the kids here wind up becoming people like my parents, more concerned about their image and what social circle they are in. It's not me, so I never cared enough to stay in touch with anyone." I feel Ryan squeeze my shoulder and pull me in tighter, and I'm starting to feel uncertain about all this. Him, having him here with my parents, talking about myself, him touching me. I pull away and stand up, needing a little space to try and calm my nerves. "We should go back inside," I say. Walking back into the house, my father calls from the library.
"Candace, could you come in here?"
"Yeah, just a second," I holler back. I turn to Ryan and say, "I'll be right back. Make yourself at home."
"Do you want me to come with you?"
"No, it's okay." When I walk into the library, both of my parents are waiting for me, and my father tells me to shut the door behind me. I do so, anxiously wondering what this is all about. As I walk further into the room, my dad says,
"Well, I just got off the phone with a friend of mine who works in admissions at Columbia. He owed me a favor and was able to pull some strings to get you a conditional acceptance for the fall semester."
"What?" "This is wonderful news, isn't it, darling?" my mother says. "I'm sorry, but what is this all about?" "Well, we know that you've been busy finishing up at UW, so your father and I thought we would help you out by taking care of this." "Taking care of what?" My head is spinning, and I can't believe what I am hearing. Are they serious right now? "Honey, you look upset. You should be happy." Raising my voice, I say, "Happy about what? Happy that you don't trust me to make decisions for myself? Happy that I know you don't think I'm good enough? Happy that you feel I am so pathetic that you have to go behind my back to try and control me?"
"Candace, lower your voice, please,"
my father says sternly. "No, I can't believe you did this." "I would have hoped Thanksgiving would have given you something to think about, but clearly you are determined to make a fool out of yourself. And to top it all off, you bring home a boy that works in a bar. Honestly, I don't know what you're thinking."
He owns that bar, Mother, I spat. It's not you. This path you're leading yourself down is not for you, my mother says. It's not for you. You're too goddamn judgmental to ever live like I do. I'm happy. I wish you could just see that and accept it. I look to my dad to try and grasp why he would do this. I always thought that he understood me, but he just stares at me with an unfaltering look. I slowly shake my head in disbelief and ask him, why? Your mother is right, dear. We thought you would come to your senses, but clearly you are stuck in this fantasy of yours. You have a name to uphold. My eyes start to blur, and when I blink, the tears fall. I just don't understand you. You should be thanking your father, not pouting. You are unbelievable, Mother! I continue to yell as I say, I'm not a child. You can't just step in and take away everything I have worked so hard for during these past 4 years. How can you call yourself a mother? You're nothing. You say you're embarrassed by me? Well, it goes both ways. When I stop to take a breath, I see Ryan rushing in. Holding out his hand, he says, We're leaving, now. Excuse me, but this is a private matter, my mother says to him condescendingly. Looking at Ryan and the anger in his eyes, I can't seem to stop the tears that are falling. I'm shocked that he would care enough to come in here and stop this fight. Candace, if you walk out, it's over. Don't come back. We refuse to sit back and watch you ruin your life. I look at my mother and can't believe she even went there. I shift my eyes to my father's. Daddy? We're done letting you play games, Bunny. No more. I look at the both of them, and I feel myself falling apart. My own parents, threatening me and trying to control me. Looking at them is actually making my stomach turn, so I do the only thing I know to do. I grab Ryan's hand and let him take me away. His grip on me is tight as he walks us through the living room, grabbing our coats and leading me outside to his Jeep. He doesn't say a word, but the look on his face tells me he's pissed. He opens the car door for me, and I begin to feel lightheaded. I reach forward and brace my free hand on the side of the seat, trying to hold myself up and clear the haze in my vision, when Ryan grabs me and pulls me into his arms. I cling to him tightly and start sobbing into his chest. I can barely grasp what just happened. But I know I can't go back. They made that clear. After a few minutes, I'm able to calm myself down enough to stop the tears. My breathing is still erratic, and I'm so embarrassed that Ryan had to see all of that. I can't even look him in the eyes, so I keep my head down when I finally loosen my grip on him and pull away. He kisses the top of my head before gripping my waist and helping me into the car. The drive home is quiet. I'm still trying to process what happened back there. I never thought my parents would ever go that far. I don't need their money or their lifestyle, and the fact that they thought it meant that much to me, that they could threaten me with it, proves that they don't know me at all. When we get back to my house, I am thoroughly drained. I curl up on the couch and kick my heels off and onto the floor. Ryan walks into the kitchen, and when he comes back out, he has a beer and a glass of wine. He hands me the glass, and I gulp half of it down quickly before setting it on the coffee table. Sitting down on the couch, he leans back on the side armrest, pulling me between his legs so that my back is resting on his chest. He wraps one arm around my waist while his other hand is threading through my hair. I can feel his steady breathing by the rise and fall of his chest. This closeness that I feel with Ryan is a lot for me to process. Closing my eyes, I take a slow, deep breath and shift to my side, resting my cheek on his sternum. I listen to his heart as it beats rapidly. You okay? His words are the first spoken since we left my parents' house.
I know I can't talk around the huge lump in my throat, so I just shake my head. Ryan rests his chin on the top of my head, and when I begin to cry again, he tightens his hold on me. I feel safe enough with him to finally have this release. I've spent years making excuses for my parents, just brushing off and accepting their behavior. But this cuts deep. My whole life I've been trying to make them proud of me, but I just can't be what they want me to be. I can't even think about trying to bottle up this pain, so I just let it out. Chapter 21. Ryan stayed over for a few hours before leaving me last night. We barely spoke at all as he held me, but we didn't need to talk. I never feel as if I need to be anything I'm not when I am with him. I don't even want to think about what last night would have been like if he hadn't been there. He told me I didn't have to go with him to his mom's house, that he would stay with me. But I really need the distraction. So, we are making the 4-hour drive to Cannon Beach in Oregon to spend the next few days with his family. I'm nervous about meeting everyone. Ryan has a large family, something I have never been around. All I know is the dysfunction I grew up around with my mother and father.
"You're quiet over there,"
Ryan says as he drives through the tall, thick pine trees of the mountains. Just a little nervous.
"Don't be."
He gives my knee a soft squeeze of reassurance. On our long drive, I try not to worry too much about what they will think of me. Ryan does a good job of distracting me with conversation and listening to music. After a while, I decide to lean back and take a nap, since I had a restless night of sleep. When we pull up to the large, 2-story, dark gray beach house, with a driveway and street full of cars, I start wringing my hands and fingers together. He parks the Jeep, steps out, and walks around to my side, opening my door. Grabbing both of my hands, he says, "Don't be so nervous. Just relax." I nod my head, but I worry they might think I'm weird or rude if I'm too quiet. I worry that I don't look nice enough, or maybe that I look too nice. Ryan helps me out of the car, and when I start smoothing down the pencil skirt of my black cap-sleeved dress, he starts laughing. "Why are you laughing at me?"
"Because I've never seen you so wound up before."
He reaches in the Jeep and grabs the bottle of Paulmeyer Merlot that I bought for his mother. We start walking to the front door when I tug against his hand. Turning around, he cocks his head slightly and gives me a concerned look. "Ryan, I don't do well around a lot of people." I hesitantly confess to him. He places his hand on my shoulder and says, "My family will love you. But if you feel that uncomfortable, we can go. Just say the word." "No, I want to meet them. I feel like I am stumbling over my words when he says, "Hey, I'm right here. No worries, okay?" Letting out a sigh, I say, "Okay." He takes my hand in his and starts leading me up the wet drive. When we walk in, I'm almost knocked down when 2 little boys dart through the foyer, chasing each other with plastic swords. Ryan chuckles at the kids and says to me, "Come on," as he takes me through the house. The walls are filled with family photographs. It's a beautiful house, not extravagant like the one I grew up in. Laughter echoes through the large house, and as we turn the corner into the kitchen, I see 3 women huddled over the counter, looking at a tabloid magazine. One of them looks up as we enter the room, and a warm smile crosses her face when she sees Ryan. Stretching out her arms and wrapping them around him, she says, "Finally, you made it. We missed you this morning." Never letting go of my nervous hand, he embraces her with his free arm. When I start to loosen my grip to allow him his other arm, he tightens his hold on me. After she lets go of him, she turns her attention to me, and Ryan introduces us. "Mom, this is Candace." "I am so glad to finally meet you, dear." And just like she did with Ryan, she pulls me in for a warm hug. But I'm a little distracted by her word, finally. Has Ryan mentioned me to her before a few days ago when he called to tell her he was bringing me? Before I can think about it too much, Ryan's hand leaves mine as the other two women are hugging me and introducing themselves as his aunts. Little kids start flooding into the kitchen, screaming for their Uncle Ryan. His mother starts calling off the names of all the children, but I can't even focus on what she is saying because I'm overwhelmed. I look over to Ryan, and he's holding two little girls, one in each arm. One of the girls is tugging on his hair while he is pecking kisses on the other one's ear, making her squeal loudly. Seeing him like this makes me laugh at how fun and easygoing he is. Although he shows these traits around me, he has started to become more protective lately. It's a whirlwind as I'm introduced to all of Ryan's cousins and their spouses, along with his two uncles. Everyone is talking and hugging me, and I know there is no way I will remember anyone's name, aside from his mother's, which I'd already known. All the noise and touching is beginning to overpower me, and when I look to see where Ryan is, he is engulfed in a conversation with two of his cousins, while he is still holding one of the little girls. Needing some space to regroup, I turn to his mother and quietly ask, "Excuse me, Donna, where is the restroom?" She directs me to one that is on the other side of the house, and I quickly make my way through the chaos. When I shut the door behind me, I walk over, sit down on the lid of the toilet, and embrace the calm. I take a few minutes to compose myself, when someone knocks on the door. I stand up to go open the door, and when I do, Ryan is standing there.
"Everything okay? When I looked up, you were gone."
"Yeah, just needed a moment to myself."
"Sorry about that,"
he says. "It's okay. I'm just not used to." Ryan runs his hands down my arms and says,
"I know. Do you need a few more minutes?"
"No, I'm fine." Holding my hand, he begins to walk me back to the kitchen, where all the commotion has died down a bit. Most of the little kids are now watching a movie in the other room, as a few of the guys sit on the couches, drinking and laughing about whatever they are talking about. I turn my attention to Ryan when he hands me a glass of red wine, and I give him a smile. I appreciate that he does things like that for me without needing to ask, that he pays attention. I used to feel uneasy around him, but over the past month or so, that feeling has waned, and I have become more relaxed when we're together.
"Come with me,"
he says in my ear, and he leads me out of the room. We wander through the house as he shows me around. The house backs up to the beach, and the view is absolutely breathtaking. When we walk past the formal dining room, two of his cousins are sitting at the table chatting. One of the girls looks up at me and invites me to join them. I look to Ryan, and he says,
"I'll just be in the other room, helping my mom out."
I nod my head and walk over to sit down as he leaves the room. Not remembering their names, I say, "I'm sorry, but with all the introductions, I can't remember your names." "I'm Tori, and this is Jenna." "So you live in Seattle too?" Jenna asks. "Yeah, I grew up there. What about you? Where do you guys live?" "We both live in Astoria, but my sister Katie lives in Portland," Tori says. The three of us begin to talk and get to know each other. The two of them, along with Katie, are the daughters of Ryan's two aunts. They are all married with kids and live in Oregon. They told me that Ryan is the only one in the family that lives in Washington, that he moved there after high school to go to college and just never came back. They seem genuinely interested in me and ask a lot of questions about college and my dancing. "Tori, Madison's sick," her sister says as she comes into the room. Tori asks, "What's wrong with her?" "She's upstairs throwing up. I know there has been a stomach bug going around at her preschool, so I'm hoping that's all it is. I laid her down in Ryan's room, and she's sleeping now." "Well, just let her rest. As long as she isn't running a fever, I wouldn't worry too much." "I think Aunt Donna actually has some leftover Pedialyte from when Connor got sick." Turning to me, she says, I'm sorry. It's been so crazy today, and I didn't meet you earlier. I'm Katie, Tori's sister. I'm Candace. So, Ryan finally brings a girl home. I can't believe it, she says. I see Tori give Katie a wide-eyed, annoyed look, and Katie dramatically says, "What?" Jenna and Tori both shake their heads at her, and I'm beginning to feel awkward, so I just ask, "What do you mean?" Surely he's brought girls home before. From what Mark has told me about what he's heard from Ryan's friends, he has been through a slew of women. Jenna tells me that all the women in the family are constantly giving him a hard time for never bringing a girl home, that I'm the first one. Well, we're just friends. Honestly, I think he only invited me because he felt bad that I was going to spend Christmas by myself. The three of them give each other curious looks when I say this, which doesn't do much for my comfort level. I feel like they know something I don't, so I just come right out and ask, "Am I missing something here?" Tori shakes her head at Jenna as Jenna leans in and quietly says, "I don't think that's why he invited you." What do you mean? Before anyone has a chance to say anything, Ryan's mom walks in and jokingly says, "You girls look like you're up to some gossip." Looking over at me, she says, "I've been so busy all day, I haven't had a chance to visit with you. Let's go chat." Donna's personality reminds me a lot of Ryan's. She's not intimidating and seems fairly laid back and casual. She has a cute short bob of light blonde hair and is tall and slender. She's dressed casually for the day in black pants and a red cable-knit sweater. I stand up and grab my glass of wine as I follow her through the living room, where I see Ryan helping one of his nephews put together a puzzle. When he looks up at me as I pass through, he gives me an endearing grin as I smile back. His mother and I walk out of the room into a quiet study. She makes herself comfortable on the couch with a cup of coffee in hand, while I sit in one of the plush chairs. Setting my wine down on a little round table next to the chair, I thank her for having me as a guest. "You are more than welcome. I have been wanting to meet you for a while now." I am flustered by her words, especially after the conversation I just had with his three cousins. "A while?" I ask. "Yeah, ever since he first called me to tell me about you. I've been wanting us to meet." Not wanting to sound like I'm snooping, I just let her comments be. "Well, I'm glad we got to meet. Ryan's been a good friend to me." I feel like I'm imposing a bit, but he insisted that I come. "You're not imposing at all. When you have as many people over here as we do, adding one more to the mix is nothing," she says with a giggle. "Ryan tells me you have a fairly small family." "Yeah, it's just me and my parents." Although I say this, I'm not so sure that's even true after last night. I kind of feel like Jace is my only family now, and at the same time, I wonder how much longer I will have him. He and Mark are very serious, and I have no clue what will happen after we all graduate this year. "I hope you don't mind, but Ryan has told me a little bit about your family dynamics. I just wanted you to know that Ryan and I have a close relationship, and he talks openly with me." "I don't mind. I figured the two of you had a tight bond. You guys are lucky. I never had that with my parents." I take a sip of my wine when I start to feel the lump in my throat return. I have always wished for that type of closeness with my parents, but it never came. And now we couldn't be any more divided. "So, Ryan tells me that you're studying ballet at school. It sounds like such fun, to have the opportunity to turn a passion into a career." I can't contain my smile when I respond. I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. I've taken ballet since I was a little girl, so when I graduated high school, there was no doubt what I wanted to do next. That's great to have that desire and focus. Not a lot of kids your age do. Donna and I talk and get to know each other. She wants to know me better, and I find her to be warm and very easy to talk to. We are deep in conversation when we hear Ryan yell from across the house.
"Mom, you're slacking in the kitchen. I think the ham is done."
Donna and I look at each other and laugh. "Can I help you in the kitchen?" I ask. "I have it covered. You go and enjoy yourself." "Really, I'd like to help." Donna looks at me, and I can see in her eyes that she probably understands why. Taking my hand, she says, "I'd love that." Before we ate dinner, Ryan finally let the kids open their gifts. He wasn't kidding when he said he had a lot. He clearly spoils his nieces and nephews rotten, and it was fun for me to sit back and watch him. He's just so relaxed with them. Ryan sat on the floor with Zachary, his 9-month-old nephew, in his lap, and helped him tear off all the gift wrap, and then laughed in amusement when all Zachary wanted to do was play with the paper, waving it around in his hands. Dinner wasn't like any Christmas dinner I have ever had. The kids ate at the bar and breakfast table, with Jenna sitting next to Zachary, who's in a high chair, and everyone else spread out between the formal dining room and the living room. We couldn't all sit together, with there being 18 of us. The evening was casual, with loud conversation and lots of laughter. Ryan's family made me feel as if I'd known them all forever. I really get along well with Tori and Jenna. Katie has been upstairs with her sick daughter most of the day, so I haven't had much time to get to visit with her. After a while, the commotion and noise start to overwhelm me. Needing to take a little breather, I offer to take Katie a plate of food since she missed dinner. Walking upstairs, I quietly knock on the door to Ryan's room. I crack the door open, and Katie is lying in bed next to Madison. "I brought you some dinner," I whisper. Katie gets out of the bed, and I hand her the plate. "Thank you so much, Candace. That's really sweet." Looking over at her daughter, I ask, "How's she feeling?" "She doesn't have a fever, just an upset tummy mostly. I can't get her to go to sleep, though." "Well, I have no experience with kids, but do you mind if I try?" "God, please," she chuckles. She has books in her bag by the bed if you want to try reading to her. "Thanks. Why don't you go downstairs and eat? I'll stay with her." "Are you sure?" "Yes, go," I say with a smile. "Okay, thank you." Walking over to the bed, I sit down, and Madison rolls over with a tiny groan. I tell her that I'm a friend of her Uncle Ryan's, and she immediately starts babbling about him and asking me questions. When she begins to slow down, I reach over to her bag and take out 2 books. They're both ballerina princess books. "You like ballerinas?" I ask. I want to be one. Mommy says when I turn 4, then I can go to dance class." "I think you'll make a beautiful ballerina." She smiles up at me, and I say, "Do you know that I'm a ballerina?" "A real one or pretend?" "A real one." "You want to be my friend?" "Best friends." She giggles as I open one of her books and begin to read. It isn't long until she is sound asleep with her head on my lap. Not wanting to wake her, I keep still and allow her to sleep. Setting the books down, I finally take a moment to realize I am lying in Ryan's bed. I look around the room that he grew up in. He has a couple of surfboards leaning against one of the walls and a large flat screen mounted on the wall facing the bed. Something about being in his room makes my heart beat a little faster. I don't want to be feeling this way, but I am. The way he was with me last night makes me feel as if I want to like him more. I have never felt this way about any guy in the past, and that scares me. I only wish he knew me before this year, before I was so screwed up. Light filters into the room when the door opens. Ryan walks in, looks at me, and laughs.
"Are you stuck under Maddie?"
"I didn't want to move and wake her up. What time is it?"
"Past 11. Everyone has gone to bed. I told Katie to go on to bed, and that I would check on you and Maddie."
"I wanted to thank your mother before she went to bed."
Don't worry about it. Here's your bag. I made a big pallet of blankets and pillows downstairs in the living room. Since Maddie is in my room, we're just going to sleep down there. We can watch a movie or something if you want.
He sets my bag on the floor and walks further into the room. I mutter nervously. I was supposed to sleep in this room, and Ryan was going to stay on the couch. Sensing my hesitation, he says,
Don't worry. I'll take the floor, and you can have the couch.
I smile at him as he walks over and grabs some clothes from his dresser.
I'll be downstairs. You can use my bathroom to change.
Okay, I say, as I slowly slide out from underneath Madison, careful not to wake her. I grab my bag and go into Ryan's bathroom. I quickly take my sleeping pill, brush my teeth and hair, and then change into a pair of pajama pants and a black cami. When I walk downstairs, I see Ryan in the kitchen, wearing only a pair of flannel pajama pants that are hanging low on his hips. I'm surprised when I see a half sleeve of tattoos on his right arm that spans a few inches onto his chest. When he spots me from across the room, he says,
Grabbing some water. Want a bottle?
No, thanks. I notice all the blankets and pillows piled into a big, fluffy makeshift bed in the center of the living room. You mind if I take the floor? I ask.
You sure?
Yeah, it looks more comfortable anyway.
Okay.
Suddenly feeling nervous about spending the night here in the same room as Ryan, I apprehensively walk over and sit down, sliding the covers over my legs. He walks across the dark room, the only light coming from the last of the burning embers in the fireplace. I try not to stare at his bare chest that is revealing the tattoos I never knew he had. He sits down next to me and turns the TV on.
TCM?
I laugh at him and say, It's all we ever watch. Why switch now?
I think you're starting to like my movies.
He teases. Maybe. We sit back and start watching a movie when Ryan turns to me and says,
Were you okay today?
I was. You're really lucky. You have a great family.
Well, everyone really likes you, especially my mom.
She's really nice. We had some time to visit earlier. His words are sweet, but at the same time bring sadness. I only wish it was my parents who felt this way. But being here today, with his big family, has made me realize just how cold my family is. You can't even compare the two. Feeling the emotions tugging at me, I lie down and lay my head on the pillows, sitting next to Ryan. He starts playing with my hair, and it's only a matter of minutes when I begin to feel the effects of my pill and drift off. Gasping for breath, I thrash up out of a dead sleep. My breathing is loud, and I'm confused about where I am, until I hear Ryan say,
Candace,
as he jumps off the couch and is by my side in a second, pulling me into his arms.
You okay?
My body is stiff, and I'm shaken, panicked by what just happened. I have no idea what I was dreaming about. I start taking deep breaths.
What happened, babe?
Bad dream, I quietly whisper through my erratic breathing. I have no idea what brought that on.
Slow your breathing down, okay?
I do as he says and concentrate on his heartbeat as he holds me against his chest. Wrapping my arms around him, he begins to stroke one of his hands up and down my back. Once I'm calm and my breathing has steadied, he asks,
Want to talk about it?
I don't speak. I just shake my head no. Truth is, I don't know what I was even dreaming about, and the last thing I want to do is try to remember it. Ryan slides under the covers with me and lays us down, both on our sides, facing each other. I look up into his eyes, and he is staring back into mine. Holding me tightly against his warm body, looking into his clear blue eyes, my heart begins to quicken again, but in a completely different way. He brings his hand up and gently places it on the side of my cheek. My breath catches, and I am so close to him that I can hear his breaths as they begin to increase slightly. Everything about him is calling me. I'm too scared to even move, but at the same time, I want to move. He's all around me, and I still want more. Never taking his eyes off of me as we lie in the darkness, I grasp onto a thread of bravery and bring my hand up to cup his cheek, as he is doing mine. Wrapped up in each other, his gaze slowly moves down to my mouth. I shouldn't be wanting to do what I know he wants to, but when his eyes flick back to mine, I keep my eyes locked on his as I nod my head, my timid way of letting him know what I want. Lowering his head slowly, my heart begins to pound in my chest as he gently presses his soft lips to mine, and my eyes fall shut. My body starts to tremble under his arms, and he grips me tighter. His kisses are slow but purposeful. When I begin to move my lips softly with his, he glides his hand from my cheek to the back of my head, weaving his fingers into my hair and holding me close. He brushes his tongue across my upper lip, and a soft noise escapes my throat. I want this, and I want this with him, but I'm scared. I've never felt this way before, and I don't know what it is about him that makes me feel like this. I take my hand from his cheek, slide it under his arm, back up around his broad shoulder, and grip tightly. My heart is all over the place as our lips meld together. Without breaking our connection, he shifts me onto my back. He begins to softly nip and suck, taking his time and not rushing our kisses. I slide my hands down his shoulders and hold tightly onto his muscular arms. When I feel his tongue brush across my lip again, I part my lips more and allow him to deepen the kiss. He dips his tongue into my mouth and caresses it against mine. My emotions are running high, and I'm not used to the feelings that course through me. Suddenly, the thought creeps in that I'm too damaged for him to ever want to be with me. And what if I'm just another girl to him? I can't do this. I realize that I'm feeling too much, and he now has the potential to hurt me. I push my hands against his arms, and he pulls back. I'm sorry, I barely whisper, keeping my eyes closed because I'm embarrassed to look at him. He continues to hold me tightly in his warm arms.
Look at me, Candace,
he breathes out. I take a second before I hesitantly open my eyes and look into his. Supporting himself above me on one elbow, he takes his hand and brushes the back of his fingers along my face.
I don't want you to feel sorry for that.
Another small noise escapes me as I nod. I can't speak, because holding on as tightly as I am to keep my tears from falling is taking up all the strength I have. So I wrap my arms around him, clinging to his warmth, to the belief that I didn't just do something stupid, clinging to my hope that he won't hurt me. Leaning down and resting his forehead against mine, I can't help myself when I tilt my chin up and gently kiss him. His lips fall slowly onto mine, pushing my head into the pillow. I cup his face between my two hands before he languidly pulls his lips from mine. Lying back on his side, he pulls me into him, and for the first time in my life, I let someone besides Jace hold on to me through the night. Chapter 22. My legs are tangled with Ryan's, and he's lying behind me with his arm draped around my waist. His warmth is wrapped around me, and although I feel nervous about seeing him after our kiss last night, I also feel relaxed in his arms as he sleeps. My stomach is full of butterflies, and I haven't even opened my eyes yet. What does this all mean? I wish I knew where his head was at, what he's thinking. At the same time, I feel like I'm not guarding myself like I probably should be. What if that kiss didn't mean anything to him? What if that's something he just does with any girl? Did he feel what I felt? Taking in a deep breath, I hold it and try to clear my head of all these jumbled thoughts. When I let out my breath, I open my eyes and see two round blue eyes staring into mine. Night-night over.
It's not over, Bailey.
Ryan mumbles behind me in a sleepy, raspy voice. I look at Bailey, Ryan's 2-year-old niece, and give her a grin. I eat breakfast. Night-night over, she says to me in her sweet toddler voice. Okay, I whisper to her as I start to wriggle my way from underneath Ryan's arm. He pulls me back down, and with his eyes still shut, he says,
Where are you going?
To get her something to eat. I slide out from under the pile of blankets and walk to the dining room while Bailey follows. Pulling out a chair for her at the table, she takes a seat and says, I eat cereal. Sounds good. Where's the cereal? I say to myself as I walk into the kitchen and open the door to the pantry. I scan around and see a box of Cookie Crunch. How about this? I ask her as I hold up the box. A big smile covers her face, and I start opening and closing cabinets to find her a bowl.
The kids' things are in the cabinet by the fridge,
Ryan says from across the room. I look over my shoulder at him as he is walking toward me. His hair has a messiness to it that just adds to his appeal. I shake off the thought and turn around to pour the cereal in the bowl. I walk over to the table and set it in front of the little girl, and then peel open a banana for her as well. Thanks, she says around a mouthful of cereal. When I walk back into the kitchen, Ryan is starting a pot of coffee. The house is quiet, and we are the only ones up.
Want some?
He asks, as he is opening the cabinet to grab the mugs. I lean back against the counter opposite of him and nod my head. I don't know what to say to him, and I'm a bundle of nerves as I watch him move around the kitchen. I'm gonna sneak upstairs and get cleaned up. I need space to regroup, and watching him move around wearing nothing but a loose pair of pajama pants is way too distracting for me.
Here,
he says as he pours the creamer in my coffee and adds 1 sugar. Thanks. I take the cup and avoid eye contact. What am I doing? Why does this make me so uncomfortable? Even the fact that he remembers how I take my coffee feels like too much. It's always been difficult for me to connect to people, to let them in. Jace says it's because of the lack of affection I had when I was growing up. Maybe he's right. I've only ever truly let one person in, Jace. Guys have always made me feel awkward. I don't know how to respond to affection, and I wind up feeling embarrassed and shy. For the first time, I don't want to feel that way. Not with Ryan. Maybe it's because he has seen a part of me that no one besides Jace has. Fighting with my parents has been my life. I am used to the chilled air that surrounds them, but having Ryan witness that, and then watching me fall apart, is something that no one has seen. I've always kept that hidden within me.
Hey,
he says, and I am snapped out of my thoughts.
You okay?
No, I'm confused. I don't want to be, but I am. What happened last night? What did that mean? Yeah, I'm fine. I just want to get ready before everyone wakes up.
Okay.
I turn and make my way upstairs and quietly sneak into his room, careful not to wake Madison. I take my time showering and getting ready, needing to pull my thoughts together before going downstairs. Yesterday was overwhelming, being around Ryan's large family. I am so used to calm and quiet. I can already hear the kids playing as I slip on my jeans and one of my old UW sweatshirts. Wrapping my hair on top of my head in a messy bun, I hear a knock on the bathroom door. Come in, I say. When the door opens, Ryan walks in and leans up against the sink, right next to me. I look over at him while I'm swiping on some lip gloss and start putting everything away. He watches me as I pack my things up, and when I pass him, he takes me by the waist and pulls me in.
What's wrong?
He asks. Nothing, really. Cocking his head slightly to the side, he says,
You want to get out of here for a while?
Without thinking too much, I nod my head. He takes my hand, but this time it's different. He laces his fingers through mine and leads me downstairs. Everyone is moving about, eating breakfast and tending to all the kids. He walks us into the formal dining room where his mother and cousins are sitting. I see Donna's eyes go straight to our hands, and I quickly try to pull my hand away. But he grips me tighter. "Good morning, Candace," she says as she stands up and gives me a hug. "How did you sleep last night?" "Good, thank you."
"Hey, Mom, we're going to go to Indian Beach for a while,"
Ryan tells her. "Oh, okay. Well, the girls and I are heading to Astoria for the day to do some shopping, so we won't be around. But the guys are going to stay here with all the kids."
"What are the plans for dinner tonight?"
"The kids really want Fultano's pizza," she says.
"Text me when you're driving back, and we'll go pick it up,"
Ryan tells her. "Thanks, dear." She leans in and kisses him on the cheek. "You guys have a good day." We head out to the Jeep and start driving towards Ecola Park to the beach. The drive is quiet as we weave through the lush trees on the narrow, winding road. The surroundings are absolutely stunning, considering the dark gray skies and rainy weather. When we make our way out of the canopy of trees, Ryan parks the Jeep, reaches into the back seat, and grabs me a hooded raincoat.
"Here, wear this,"
he says as I take the coat from him. When we get out of the Jeep, I shrug on the huge coat and pull the hood over my head. The wind off the water is strong, and the chill is biting. He takes my hand again and starts walking us down the wooden stairs to the wet, puddled sand and rocks. This place is beautiful in a dark and moody way. We are the only ones on the beach, aside from a few surfers in wetsuits out in the water. I follow Ryan, and we walk along the uneven stacks of black rocks toward a few logs of driftwood. We sit on one of the logs, and he wraps his arm around me as I shiver in the rainy cold. The view of the deep cliffs around us and the sea stacks in the water are awesome. "This is amazing," I say.
"Yeah, I love it out here. I used to surf here a lot growing up."
I nod my head, remembering the surfboards in his bedroom.
"Candace,"
he says as he turns his focus on me. Looking into my eyes, he asks,
"What's bothering you? And don't say nothing, because I know something is."
Looking away, back at the water, I try to find my words. If I don't talk to him, then the awkwardness will just continue. But what do I say? There are a million things racing through my head, and I am finding it hard to hone in on just one. And what if he thinks I'm crazy for reading too much into a kiss that was probably something so casual to him?
"Candace,"
he says, and I turn to look back at him. I let out a breath before admitting, I just don't really know what we're doing. It's all I can say. Shifting his one leg over the log, he turns to face me straight on.
"Tell me what you want."
What? Why can't he just tell me what he wants? Not wanting to look at him, I stare out into the water again when I confess. I'm not good at this stuff, Ryan.
"Come here,"
he says as he tugs on my leg, and I shift my body slightly to face him.
"I've wanted to kiss you since the night of the concert. I don't know where your head is at, but whenever I'm not with you, I want to be."
My heart begins to race as he says this to me. It's what I was hoping to hear, but also what I was scared to hear. When I drop my head, he says,
"Talk to me, babe."
I don't do this well.
"Do what?"
This. I stop talking when he cradles my face in his hands and moves me so that I'm looking at him.
"Whatever this is, I want it. I just need to know if you do."
His eyes are serious, and he never takes them off of me as he speaks. It's intimidating and makes me anxious. Hearing him speak so honestly makes my stomach flutter. I'm scared. I'm happy. I'm all over the place when I finally look up at him, and with trepidation, I nod my head, yes. A smile breaks across his face as he pulls me in and kisses me. I wrap my arms around him, underneath his coat, as his cold, rain-soaked lips cover mine. He draws me in tight, and I melt into him. Pushing my fears aside, I focus solely on him. His hold on me is strong, which contrasts his gentle kisses. He's in no rush as he takes his time, dragging his tongue across my lip and slipping it inside my mouth. When our tongues slide across each other, I tighten my grip on him. His lips are soft, and I can taste a hint of mint on him. He holds my head and guides me with him as we move with one another. I've never been kissed the way Ryan kisses me. He's slow and deliberate, and I can feel that it's more than just a kiss to him, which settles me because it's more than that for me, too. His hands still on my cheeks, he breaks our kiss, and I stare up into his eyes when he says, "Should we get out of here?" "Let's stay." I'm in no hurry to go back to his house, and I don't want this moment to end just yet.
"Come here."
He pulls me onto his lap, and I hook my arms around his neck. He is much larger than I am, so I fit perfectly in his hold. "Can I ask you something?"
"Anything,"
he says as he turns his head to look at me. I never asked before because I didn't want to intrude, but where is your father? He lets out a slow breath and shifts his focus out to the beach.
"He died about 10 years ago."
He turns to face me again, and I feel awful for asking. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked," I say when I drop my head, feeling bad for bringing it up. Lifting my chin to look up at him, he says,
"Candace, you can ask me anything. I don't want you to feel like you can't, okay?"
"Yeah." I quietly sigh and turn my head away from him, still feeling like I shouldn't have asked him that. After a moment, he begins to speak.
"My dad was an asshole."
When I look at him, he continues.
"He drank way too much and was never around, but when he was a total dick. So don't feel bad for asking, because I don't feel bad that he's dead."
His voice is hard when he speaks, and I have no idea how to respond to his harsh words. I want to know more, but I don't dare ask. Whatever is underneath this is something that seems painful, so I let it go. I look up at the cliff that is behind us and notice a roped-off ledge. Is there a trail up there? Turning his head to see what I'm looking at, he says,
"Yeah, it's a pretty decent path if you want to go up there."
Needing to cut this intensity, I say, "Yeah, let's go." He eyes my leopard rain boots and asks,
"Those have enough traction?"
"We'll see." I giggle and hop off of his lap and grab his hands to pull him off the log. He smiles at my laugh and leans down to give me a chaste kiss before bending down and grabbing me behind my knees, scooping me up over his shoulder. I squeal as he starts hauling me up the stairs while I hang upside down. I don't even think to tell him to put me down because I love this feeling of playfulness. I honestly can't remember the last time I have felt like this. I don't think I ever have. We hike along the path and explore the area for a couple hours. I was apprehensive about coming on this trip with him, but I'm so glad I did. My discomfort has dissipated, and it feels like it always has with us. Light and easy. We start walking back to the Jeep, thoroughly wet and windblown.
"You up for shopping?"
he asks me with a smirk. "Shopping?"
"Yeah, everyone is leaving tonight, so I need to get the kids hopped up on sugar before they go,"
he jokes. Opening my door, he helps me up into my seat before walking around to the other side. When he gets in, I ask, "Where are we going?"
"Seaside. There's a cool candy shop called The Buzz."
I laugh at his excitement. "Your cousins are going to hate you, you know?"
I'm their uncle. It's my job to spoil the shit out of those kids, to spite their parents.
He makes me laugh, but his love for his nieces and nephews is apparent. I get the feeling that is how they all are with each other. It feels so abnormal to be around them, but I know it's because I've never had that in my life. It's always just been me and my parents, and there was never any warmth between us. Ryan reaches over, laces his fingers with mine, and holds my hand. I smile when I look over at him. I sit back with our hands connected and enjoy his quiet company as we drive. Pulling onto the Broadway strip of Seaside, there are throngs of people walking on the sidewalks, going in and out of the shops that line the street. When we find a parking spot, we walk to the candy shop. He leads me to the back of the store, and when I see what he is eyeing, I start laughing and say, "You cannot let those kids eat this stuff." "Watch me," he says with a devious smile. I just stand there next to him, shaking my head as he tells the sales clerk to bag up chocolate-covered and peanut butter-covered Twinkies, chocolate-covered bacon, and a chunk of peanut butter foam rock. Looking over at me as he pays for the diabetic coma in a bag, he innocently says, "What?" as if he doesn't understand the absurdness of his purchase. "Nothing," I say, in a high-pitched, mock defensive tone. After grabbing lunch, we continue to shop around before deciding to head back. The rain has been constant all day, and we are both in desperate need of clean, dry clothes, especially since we decided to hike in the mud earlier. Ryan's mom calls to let us know that they are on their way back to the house, so we stop by Fultano's to pick up a few pizzas for an early dinner before everyone leaves. We arrive home before his mother and aunts do, so Ryan stashes the pizzas in the oven and offers to take the older kids upstairs to play, to give their dads a little break. There is a large playroom that he takes the 3 kids into and has me shut the door behind them.
"Can you guys keep a secret?"
he asks them. Madison, Bailey, and Connor, his 4-year-old nephew, all say yes in excited unison when Ryan pulls out the bag of sugary junk. I sit back on one of the couches in the room and laugh as Ryan and the kids dive into everything. Watching how he is with these kids, laughing and playing on the floor, is another reason for me to like him even more. I know he owns a successful business and works hard, but it's nice that he has this light-hearted side to him as well. Ryan comes over to sit next to me with one of the pieces of chocolate-covered bacon.
"Here,"
he says as he tries to hand it to me. Pushing his hand away, I say, "Gross, I am not eating that."
"It's surprisingly really good."
He takes a bite out of it and holds the leftover piece to my mouth.
"Just try it,"
he says, and I open my mouth and bite it out of his grip. I'm amazed that it is actually good. The salt and smoke of the bacon blends well with the sweetness of the chocolate. "Okay, you win. That was actually really good," I admit. Ryan looks out the window that's over my shoulder, then back to the kids.
"Guys, eat fast. Our moms just pulled up."
The 3 of them giggle as they try desperately to scarf down the rest of the sweets. Ryan and I laugh while watching them in their simplicity of fun. We get up, and Ryan wads up all the wrappers. Holding out my hands, I say, "Give them to me. I'll hide them." The kids run downstairs, and Ryan hands over the wrappers as I walk to his room. He follows me in and closes the door behind us. I walk into the bathroom and toss everything into the trash can. When I walk out, Ryan is sitting on the edge of the bed.
"Come over here,"
he says. Walking over to him, he pulls me between his legs and slides his arms around my waist. Because of our height difference, we are almost level. Looking at me, he says,
"I'm glad you're here with me."
I smile at him with my hands gripped on his shoulders. Me too. Placing his hand behind my neck, he draws me in so he can kiss me. He keeps the kiss short, then pulls me down to sit on his knee. The room is dark as we stare at each other with our foreheads resting together. Being like this with him, in this quiet room, is peaceful. Neither one of us speaks as we sit here together. "We should go downstairs," I whisper. Whispering back, he says, "Not yet." We stay like this, me on his knee, foreheads together, when Connor comes bursting through the door. "Busted!" he shouts. I jump up, and Ryan turns to him. "What do you mean?" "Bailey had chocolate on her face, and Mom is blaming you." "Okay, kid, let's go face the firing squad." When Connor starts running back downstairs, Ryan and I follow. "What did you feed these kids?" Tori asks Ryan. "I'll never tell, and neither will they," he jokes as the kids start laughing uncontrollably. "Call it a going-home present," he says with a wink. "Payback's a bitch. Just remember that, Ryan. One of these days, when you have kids, you'll see." Ryan laughs at her, and I try to stifle my laugh as well. Watching their playful banter is pretty funny. The house is quiet and still. Everyone left about an hour ago, and I have been curled up on the couch, reading one of my favorite childhood books I found on the bookshelf, since I got out of the shower. Ryan is upstairs, getting cleaned up, while I drink a cup of hot tea and read as the rain trickles down the large windows that look out to the beach. "Where's Ryan?" Donna asks as she walks into the room. "He's taking a shower." She grabs a couple blankets and joins me on the couch. "Here, cover up. It's cold." Draping the blanket across my lap, I set the book down and say, "Thanks." She wraps up in her blanket and asks, "How are you doing, dear?" "Good, actually. I'm sorry I wasn't around much to visit with everyone. I hope no one thought I was being rude." "No one thought that. Please, no need to apologize. It's just, I'm not used to being around a large group. It's a little overwhelming for me." "You don't need to explain. Everyone loves you. It was a nice surprise to have you, and Ryan seems really happy." "Oh," I say, not sure how to respond to her statement. "Ryan said he went to meet your parents on Christmas Eve. I've been so busy I haven't had a chance to ask him about it. How did it go?" she questions. Looking down at my tea, I shake my head. "Not well." She reaches over and places her hand on my knee. "What happened?" I sit there, trying to figure out where I should begin. I've been so busy the past few days that I haven't had much time to think about our fight. Now that I am searching for the words, the finality of our fight plays back in my head. I swallow hard against the lump in my throat, and when I open my mouth to speak, I can't seem to get anything out. I close my mouth and stare into Ryan's mother's eyes. "Oh, sweetie," is all she says when she scoots closer and wraps me in her arms. How is it that this woman I just met yesterday seems to read me better than my own mother? Why can't my mother just love me? Why has she never loved me? My thoughts become too much, and I begin to weep quietly as Donna rubs my back. My mother has never comforted me like this, not even when I was a little girl. When I was younger, it was always the nanny who would lie with me when I got sick, or put Band-Aids on my knees when I would fall off my bike. Why couldn't I have had a loving family like Ryan's? "Do you want to tell me about what happened?" she asks as she pulls away. Wiping my tears, I decide to open up to her. We got in a bad fight. It wasn't good. They told me they were done with me, and not to come back. "My God," she says quietly, in shock. What's worse is that Ryan heard it all. Ryan would never judge you for that. I hope not, but it was embarrassing nonetheless. "What were you arguing about?" she asks. "The same thing we always fight about. They aren't happy with my choices. I'm not good enough. I don't measure up to the name they work hard for." Donna leans over to the end table and hands me a box of tissues. I pull one out and wipe the tears from my cheeks. It's always been this way. But then at Thanksgiving, my mother told me that I was nothing but an embarrassment to her. I'm so sorry, dear. No child should ever have to hear that. Hear what? Ryan questions, and when I look up, I see him walking down the stairs. He crosses the room and comes to sit next to me on the couch as I face his mother. I try not to look at him as he wraps one of his arms around me. Candace is telling me about what happened the other night. Mom. It's fine, I say. Covering my hand with hers, she asks, Do you have any other family at all? No, it's only ever been the three of us since my father's parents passed away. What about your mother's family? I've never met them. I have never known them to speak. I'm not even sure they know about me. Wiping my cheeks again, Ryan rests his other hand on my leg. He doesn't say anything. He just sits there, letting his mom and I talk. She shakes her head as if she can't believe what I am saying. Leaning forward, she takes me in her arms again. The comfort I am getting, being held by both Ryan and his mother, is almost too much for me, but I know this is what I've been missing my whole life. I wrap my arms around Donna's as more tears fall. Letting go of me, she says, I'm glad you're here with us. As she brushes her thumbs under my eyes. I'll let the two of you be, she says to Ryan, then kisses my forehead. When she leaves the room, Ryan pulls me back onto his chest. Don't cry, babe, he says softly in my ear. I'm tired. I don't want to talk anymore. Ryan gets off the couch, and I follow him upstairs. Walking into his room, I go into the bathroom to take my sleeping pill and brush my teeth. When I walk out, he is still standing by the door. I crawl into his bed and don't even question him when he slides in behind me. He pulls me into him and curls himself around me. Neither one of us moves. We just lie there, snuggled up together. I've never had this before, but there is something about Ryan, about the way he makes me feel, that makes me want this, with him. Chapter 23. Morning, babe. Lifting my head and looking up at Ryan in the still dark room, he has me tucked tightly against him. Trying to wake from my sleep, I let my head fall lazily back down on his chest. His thumb is stroking my shoulder, and I blink a few times before fully opening my eyes. The room is cold, and I sink further down in the bed beneath the covers. I hear Ryan chuckle under his breath as he says, What are you doing? I'm cold, I whisper. You're always cold. I roll over onto my stomach and look up at him. I know. He reaches down, pulls me back up against him, and wraps the comforter around me. Aside from Jace, I have never slept a full night in bed with any other man. I thought it would be weird. Maybe it would be with anyone else, but with Ryan, it feels safe. We are supposed to be driving back to Seattle later today, and I'm not quite sure how Jace is going to react to this new development. He knows I'm here. I texted him after the fight with my parents to let him know I was going to be with Ryan, but I haven't spoken with him since I have been here. Why are you so quiet? Ryan asks me. Just thinking. About? Snaking my arm around his waist, I say, Jace, he and Mark will be back Saturday. He rolls on his side and props himself up on his elbow. Looking down at me, he says, Stop thinking, as he leans down and nuzzles his head in my neck, lightly nipping on the sensitive flesh. Goosebumps begin to prick on my skin. Raising his head, my hands holding his face, he says, Do you know how beautiful you look right now? His words make my heart quicken, and I pull his face down to me and kiss him. Are you guys all packed up? his mother asks as Ryan pulls out some cold pizza for us to eat. We spent the morning lying in bed, dozing in and out of sleep, and just enjoying the calm of being alone. Handing me a slice, he turns to her and says,
"Yeah, I have to go to my office and get a bunch of paperwork done, and Candace has to work tonight."
The three of us sit together at the table, eating cold leftover pizza. I sit and listen to Ryan and his mother talk to each other. They have a natural flow and connection between them, and it's apparent that the two of them are really close. "Candace, will you take a quick walk with me on the beach before you go?" she asks. I look up at Ryan, and he smiles at me before getting up from the table. Turning to look at Donna, I answer, "Yeah, let me go grab my rain boots." The mist is light this morning as we walk along the firm, puddled sand. The wind is kicking hard, and the waves are rough as they crash along the shore. "I'm sorry if I pushed too much yesterday," she says, looking at me over her shoulder. "You didn't. I don't ever talk about that stuff with anyone, but it felt nice to unload a little of it. I feel just awful about what you've been through, and I want you to know that even though we just met, you can talk to me whenever you want. I'll give you my number before you leave. Call me, please." I nod my head and say, "Okay." Everyone needs a parent they can depend on, including you, dear. I'm taken back by her words. Donna has such a warm and maternal demeanor. She stops and turns to face me when she says, "He hasn't always had it easy, you know? He doesn't let a lot of people in, but I know you're special to him, which makes you special to me. From what Ryan has told me, he's really lucky to have you." We stand there, facing each other, and I'm at a complete loss for words. Where have these people been? Why are they just now in my life? Why couldn't I have met Ryan years ago? I could have possibly been saved from so much, and now I feel like I could destroy this if he knew my secret. Standing on this beach right now with his mother, I vow to do everything I can to bury this deep down. If he knew, he would never look at me the way he does now. He would be disgusted, and everything would crumble. I can't have that happen. I've lost Kimber. I've lost my parents. I've even lost myself. I can't lose anyone else. When Ryan pulls up to my house, I quickly jump out to stretch after the long drive. Ryan gets my bag and walks me inside. He follows me back to my room as I go to put my bag away. I turn to look at him standing in the doorway. He's looking around my room, as if he is taking in every detail. "What?" I question, feeling a little too self-conscious of my belongings. He walks right up to me and scoops me up in his arms. I love it when he holds me like this. I think he gets a kick out of how light I am and picks me up often. I wrap my arms around his neck and giggle as I look down at him.
"You've got a lot of ballet shit in here,"
he says, and I can't help but laugh at him. Yeah, I do. Leaning my head down, we spend the next few minutes kissing each other. He is always so patient with his kisses, never rushing. It's perfect. He walks over to my bed and lays us down. He doesn't push to go any further than kissing, and I thank God for that, because I don't think I am capable of doing anything else. He just holds me.
"What time do you have to be at work?"
he asks. "At 7. I have to close, so I won't be home till midnight."
"Come to my place tonight."
I stumble over my words, not really knowing what to say, but stop trying when I hear Ryan chuckle at me.
"Why are you nervous? You've slept with me for the past 2 nights."
"Stop laughing at me," I say as I nudge him in the ribs. And that was just a little different.
"Why?"
"Because your mother was there." He starts laughing again, and I know he's not doing it to be rude, but I'm scared. This makes me nervous, and I don't know how to explain it to him. I'm sure most girls wouldn't have an issue with this. Most would be doing more than kissing like a couple of kids. But I don't know what I'm doing, and this scares the shit out of me. When he realizes that I'm no longer talking, he shifts over me and in a more serious tone asks, "What's going on?" I shake my head, because what could I possibly say to a 28-year-old man that isn't going to sound completely pathetic?
Talk to me.
I don't know what to say, I tell him honestly.
Say what you're thinking, babe.
I told you that I don't do this well. I don't. Taking a deep breath, I close my eyes and continue. I don't do this. Shit. Why can't I get my words out without sounding like an idiot?
Open your eyes. Don't hide from me.
When I look at him, he brushes his hand through my hair and says,
"We'll move as slow as you want, but I want you in my bed tonight. I want you next to me."
"Okay," I whisper.
"I want you to talk to me, though. I need you to tell me what is going on in your head. I'll never judge you."
God, why does he have to say these things to me? His words pierce through me and melt me, but they also intimidate me. How can I be open with him when I have never opened up to anyone besides Jace? He brings me out of my thoughts when he says,
"I'll never hurt you. I just need you to trust me."
I nod my head at his words, but how can I trust him like that when I don't trust anyone?
"Come on," he says, as he stands up and pulls me off the bed. "I have to run and take care of things at work. You'll come over tonight."
He doesn't ask, he just tells me. Not allowing a response, he leans down and kisses me before leaving. After I unpack, I call Jace. I need to talk to someone about everything. And when he answers the phone, I break at the sound of his voice. My emotions are all over the place, but Jace is my rock, and I really need him right now.
"What's wrong?"
"I don't know where to begin. I wish you were here. I just really need you right now." My voice trembles as I try hard not to cry.
"Sweetie, you're scaring me."
I think I may be getting in way over my head with Ryan.
"What are you talking about? What's going on with Ryan?"
Not sure where to begin. I just start rambling uncontrollably, and I'm sure I'm not making any sense. He kissed me, and I kissed him back. We've been sleeping next to each other. He told me he wants to be with me, and I foolishly agreed. Now we're back home, and he wants me to spend the night at his place, and I just have no clue what the hell I'm doing. And you're not here, and I'm freaking out, and...
"Whoa, you have to slow down."
He cuts me off.
"Go back. He kissed you?"
Uh-huh.
"What happened?"
"It was late Christmas night. We were lying down, and it just sort of happened. I don't know. We just kissed. Then we fell asleep together."
"Well, how did you feel when you woke up?"
"Really confused. I mean, I know we've been hanging out a lot, but I feel like I don't know a whole lot about him. And then everything Mark told me about all the girls started freaking me out."
"But he told you he wants to be with you."
"Yeah, we went to the beach. He just came out and told me, and then I agreed with him. We ended up sleeping together again, and then his mother was insinuating that he's talked to her about me in the past, and that kinda intimidates me."
"Why?"
"What do you mean? You know I have zero experience with this shit. I have no clue what I'm getting myself into. I have never felt this way about anyone before. And I'm scared."
"What are you scared of?"
"Everything. He hasn't done anything more than kiss me, but what happens when he wants to do something else? Knowing what Mark told me, I feel like I just can't handle this. I'm scared he's going to touch me, and then what?"
"Ryan doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would push you."
"What? How do you know?"
"Because he told me how he feels about you."
"What?" I squeal out. "When?"
"He called me Christmas Eve to tell me what happened with your parents. He told me that he's been having feelings for you for a while and wanted to know if he was wasting his time."
What did you say?
I told him I thought he should tell you, but I told him not to fuck with you if he wasn't serious, that you've been dealing with a lot, and that I didn't want to see you get hurt.
I'm shocked. My heart is racing, and I don't know what to say.
Candace?
Yeah, I'm here. Why didn't you tell me?
I'm telling you now.
Don't joke with me, Jace.
Because if I told you, you would never have let this happen. You would have completely shut him out, and you need to start living again.
I have been living.
You've been existing. There's a big difference.
His words cut into me. I can continue to make excuses, but I know he's right. Tears well up in my eyes, and when I sniff, Jace is right there with me.
Don't cry, Candace.
I'm scared.
I know, but it's okay to feel that way. You have to feel this. You have to start opening yourself up again.
Am I going to lose you? Wow, that came out of nowhere. But I have been thinking a lot about what will happen after this year. Plus, he's with Mark now. What if Mark gets a job out of state? Will Jace go with him? What if Jace gets a job out of state? And where will I get a job?
Never, I promise.
I want you to come home.
2 more days. Don't cry. It'll be fine.
Okay. When I hang up the phone, I take a deep breath and pull myself together. I throw a load of laundry in and repack my bag before heading out to work. I try not to think too much about all the possible outcomes of what I am getting myself into. I like Ryan, and Jace's reassurance gives me the push I need to move forward, to try to open up to him. That's all I can really do. Just try. Chapter 24. It's a little past midnight when I pull into Ryan's driveway. The lights are on up on the 2nd floor. I grab my bag, walk to the side of the building, and up the flight of stairs that lead to his front door. I stand there for a while and think about what Jace told me earlier. Based on what he said, I shouldn't be nervous about Ryan. But I am. Aside from everything else, this is new to me. The guy I dated in high school hardly counts as a relationship. We barely even knew each other, and he didn't care enough about me to really even pay much attention to me. It was a relationship of convenience. He served as a distraction from my home life, and that's it. Aside from graduation night, we never had much of a physical relationship. I am completely inexperienced, and I know it. The fact that I am almost 23 makes it even more embarrassing. I am startled when Ryan opens the door.
"What are you doing out here?"
he asks. Nothing. I was just about to knock. I lie. He takes my bag out of my hand and steps to the side so that I can come in. I walk to the living room, but don't sit. I stand like an idiot in the center of the room, not sure what I should be doing. I don't know why I feel so awkward tonight. Ryan was right. We have spent the past 2 nights together, so why do I feel weird about a third? Maybe it's because I am in his home. How many girls have been here? How many girls have slept in his bed? God, why am I even thinking about this? He sets my bag down by the stairs that lead up to the 3rd floor, where his bedroom is, and starts walking toward me.
"Did you eat?"
"I did before I went to work." When he reaches me, he wraps his arms around my waist, and the touch alone is enough to relax me a little bit. I clasp my hands together behind his back and lean my forehead against his chest. Kissing the top of my head, he says,
"Better?"
"Mm-hmm," I hum.
"Good. I'm wiped. What about you?"
"Yeah." Driving back from Oregon and then having to work so late, I'm drained. Taking my bag, we go upstairs to his room.
"The bathroom is right over there,"
he says, and he points past his large closet. Closing the door, I lay out my clothes and turn on the shower so that I can rid myself of the smell of coffee. That's the downfall of working at a coffee shop. You leave work smelling like an old pot of coffee. After drying my hair, taking my sleeping pill, and brushing my teeth, I walk back in the room at the same time Ryan is coming back upstairs, holding 2 bottles of water.
Here,
he says, as he hands me one of the bottles. Thanks. Ryan wears a pair of pajama bottoms with no shirt, and when he crosses the room, I notice another tattoo that looks like scripted words that is inked on the side of his ribs. He walks over to the large king-sized bed and starts pulling back the covers. I hop up on the bed and slip under the sheets. Ryan sits next to me, leaning his back against the dark leather headboard. When he lifts his arm to wrap around me, I can finally make out the words of his tattoo. Pain is a reminder you're still alive. Laying my hand over it, I ask, "What's this for?" He looks down at my hand and says,
"A reminder."
He takes my hand off the tattoo and holds it against his chest. I then notice a jagged scar under the tattoo. I want to ask, but I don't. When Ryan sees what I'm looking at, he says,
"Like I said, my dad was an asshole."
I shift my eyes to his when he begins talking again.
"He was a drunk and liked to take his anger out on me and my mom. I took more of it than she did. The drunker he was, the worse it would get. He was like that for as far back as I can remember. It was all I knew. Then, one night, I beat the shit out of him when he was wasted, and when he got in his car and left, he never came back. His car was found wrapped around a tree, and that was it. He was dead."
I'm sure my eyes are filled with horror as I listen to him speak, because he pulls me tight and comforts me instead of me trying to comfort him. I am speechless. I can only tighten my grip around him to let him know how I feel. How could I have droned on about how shitty my parents are? I've had it pretty good compared to what he had to grow up with. And Donna? God, I had no idea. She is such a wonderful person. My heart hurts for what they must have gone through.
"You're the only one who knows that, outside of my mom and me,"
he tells me. He is only giving me more reasons to trust him. I feel really stupid. I'm so sorry about complaining about my parents.
"Candace, you're far from stupid. Your parents treated you like shit. They filled you full of misconceptions of yourself and fucked with your head. Anyone would be devastated. Don't dismiss your pain because you don't think it's worthy. It is."
Raking my fingers through the hair on the back of his head, I pull him down to kiss me. He slides down in the bed and hovers his body over me. He drags his lips from my mouth, across my cheek, and down my neck, taking little sucks along the way. I hold him close to me when he starts trailing kisses across my collarbone. Taking his face in my hands, I guide him back up to my lips. I begin to slip away to a place where nothing exists but us. His soft lips caress mine as we move at our slow pace. Taking one of my hands in his, he laces his fingers with mine and presses my hand into the mattress as I feel myself falling for him even more. When Jace got back in town, we spent some much-needed alone time together. Ryan has been busy this past week with work, and we haven't had much time to hang out during the days. In the mornings, we have been running together. Aside from that, I've been in the studio almost every day and picking up extra shifts at work. Somehow I let Jace and Ryan talk me into going to Ryan's bar to hear Mark's band play tomorrow night. Still nervous about the possibility of seeing Jack out one of these days, the fact that I'll be there with Jace and Ryan was comforting enough for me to say yes. Ryan is working late tonight, so Jace and I are spending the evening together at his place. After grabbing some tea and coffee at Pete's on the ground floor of Jace's apartment building, we head upstairs for the night. Making ourselves comfortable on his couch, we talk for quite a while about Mark and Ryan. This is the first time that both of us have had boyfriends we can talk about, and I'm enjoying our newfound pastime for gossiping. But the conversation takes a more serious tone when Jace asks,
"Can you hear me out on something?"
"Sure, what's up?"
"I know I've brought this up before, but I want to bring it up again, because you seem to be in a better place now."
"What are you getting at?"
"Have you thought about calling the detective from that night?"
"What? Why would I do that?"
"Because, Candace, you know who did this, and the hospital has the evidence."
"I don't want to talk about this."
"What if he does this to someone else?"
"Drop it, Jace."
"Candace, think about it. If he could do what he did to you—"
"I'm serious, Jace. Drop it." My hands are shaking, and I cannot believe he even went there. Getting off the couch, I storm off to the bathroom and slam the door behind me. I have been trying so damn hard to not think about that night, and now, when I close my eyes, I'm right back there. How could he do this to me? I turn on the faucet and splash cold water on my face, but the anger keeps coursing through me. Looking at myself in the mirror, I realize I'm crying, and when I see the tears, I get more pissed. The door swings open, and Jace is standing there with guilt all over his face. "What's wrong with you?" I scream at him.
"Shit, Candace, I had no idea,"
he pleads.
"I honestly thought you
would be over it by now. I can't. He won't ever let me," I sob out. "I can still feel his hands all over me, and I hate it. God, all I have ever asked is for you to drop it, and now you bring this shit up? Now?" I just can't. And God, Ryan would find out."
"He doesn't know?"
"No, he'll never know. He can't."
"Why?"
"Because I'd lose him. He'd run away. Who would want me?"
"You have to tell him."
"No, I don't. This is my secret, and I plan to keep it that way."
"Candace, I'm sorry. I didn't realize."
His voice is hurt, and I feel horrible for blowing up at him like that. "I'm sorry," I say, then hug him. "I'm sorry."
"I never thought you'd be over it. I know you better than that. I just thought that you'd be in a little bit of a better place."
"Can we just forget about it?"
"Of course. Forgotten."
I decide to call it a night. Jace wanted me to spend the night, but I really need some space. Seth's car is parked out front when I get home. As I walk past it, I notice for the first time that he has Greek letters on his back window. The same Greek letters of Jack's fraternity. Oh my God. Does Kimber know this? She'd almost have to know. I start to panic a bit, wondering if she's talked to Jack, and if so, what was said. Did he say anything about me? I feel uncomfortable when I walk in and see Kimber and Seth watching a movie in the living room. I quickly walk through the room. Kimber doesn't say anything. She simply sits on the couch and looks at me when I walk to my room. This tension with Kimber hurts, and the fact that Jace and I just had an argument when we never argue has me emotionally exhausted. God, I hate this. Ryan seems excited this morning on our run that I was finally going to come by his bar and hang out. After everything that happened with Jace that night, I am more apprehensive than ever, but I stuff it down deep because I know Ryan wants me at the bar with him tonight. He's already there. He's been working all afternoon, and Mark drove with Chasen, the drummer, for a quick sound check. So I'm getting ready and hanging out with Jace. The tension between us has dissipated, and neither one of us mentions our fight. Sliding my black boots on over my jeans, I say, "Okay, I'm ready." "Finally," Jace teases as we start to head out. I pull my hooded black raincoat over my plum satin swing top and lock the door behind me. When we get in the car, I text Ryan to let him know we are on our way.
"Mark is really excited that you're coming tonight."
I feel bad that I've missed all of his shows, I say.
"Don't. He gets it."
Jace turns in, down an alley, and I give him a look as he says, "We're parking in the back employee lot." As we drive around the building, I'm surprised at the size. I had no idea he owned a place this big. Although it's dark and rainy out, I can see that the front lot and side streets are lined with cars. Jace turns the car into a small empty spot in the back. When I get out and turn around, away from the car, my heart freezes. I can't breathe. Holy shit. I zone in on the blue chipped paint. I see those chips that expose the dark metal underneath almost every day. I'd know them anywhere. When I take a step back, the heel of my boot snags on a divot in the asphalt, and I trip, falling on my bottom. I begin to panic when I hit the ground. All I see is that dumpster, and I can't get up fast enough. I can't even hear Jace as I see his lips move as he squats in front of me. Quickly, I pull myself up, and Jace follows, grabbing my shoulders. He puts me back in the car. I lower my head to my knees and begin to sob uncontrollably. When Jace gets in the car, I start screaming, "Get me out of here! Go! Get me out of here!" He doesn't say a word as he starts the car. I sit up, with sobs racking me. I'm still screaming when I see the back door open and Ryan comes out. His eyes meet mine, and I can see the shock in his face as I'm crying and screaming at Jace to drive. He rips out of the parking lot as I hear Ryan yelling my name. Covering my face with my hands, I continue to wail. Jace pulls the car into a gas station and throws the car in park. Getting out, he comes around to my side, opens my door, and kneels down beside me. "Candace, I need you to breathe. Calm down, okay?" But I can't. That night keeps replaying in my head. That dumpster. Jack ripping off my clothes. Digging my nails in the asphalt, trying to get away. It all flashes through me. "Candace, look at me. What's wrong?" Letting my head fall in my hands, I say, "That's the alley. That's the alley, Jack." I still can't bring myself to say that word, but no words are needed when Jace pulls me into him and holds me. "Oh, God," he mutters over and over as I cry. My sobs begin to weaken and fatigue overcomes me. I release my hold on Jace and fall back into the seat, thoroughly drained and exhausted. "Let me take you back to my place, okay?" My eyes sting from the mixture of tears and makeup, so I keep them closed and nod my head. Walking into Jace's apartment, I head straight to his bedroom and lay my head on his pillow. My head is pounding and my body is weak. Jace lies down next to me and holds me. "What can I do?" he asks hopelessly. "Just make it go away," I mumbled. If only he could, I just might have a fighting chance to be myself again. Instead, I lie here, as I have so many times before, pathetic, weak, and broken. Letting out a sigh of defeat, he tells me, "I wish I could. I would. I would do anything to take this away from you." I know that he would too, but hearing the pain in his voice brings on another slew of tears. We both jump when there is a loud pounding on his door. I sit up when Jace gets out of bed. "Stay here," he says as he shuts the bedroom door behind him. I soon hear Ryan's loud voice demanding to know where I am, and Jace yelling at him to give me space, when the door suddenly opens. Still crying, I look up at Ryan, and he gently closes the door behind him and rushes over to the side of the bed where I am sitting. Kneeling between my legs, he holds firmly onto my knees. I hate seeing the pain and confusion in his eyes. I continue crying and repeating, I'm sorry, Ryan, Grabbing me behind my back, he slides me off the edge of the bed and onto the floor with him. "What happened, babe?" Hiding my face in my hands as I cry, I keep apologizing. He pulls me tight against him, and I wonder what I could possibly say to excuse this breakdown. He's going to want to know, and I don't know what to do. He takes my wrists and pulls my hands away from my face.
I need you to talk to me.
Looking down at my lap, I say the first thing that comes to my mind. I got myself too worked up and had a panic attack. I know you wanted me there tonight, but I couldn't.
Why couldn't you just tell me?
I was embarrassed. This has happened a few times in the past, but only Jace knows that I have these. He wraps me up in his arms, and I feel horrible. I didn't lie, but I still feel guilty. When I'm calmed down, he backs away and looks me in the eyes when he says,
"You could have come to me. Jace isn't the only one you have, you know?"
The hurt in his eyes is too much, and I have to look away, but he lowers his head to catch my dropping eyes.
I need you to trust me enough to talk to me.
Nodding my head, he continues,
I understand you and Jace, but I know how I feel about you.
He takes a moment before softly saying,
I want you to need me more than him.
Feeling the need to defend myself, I say, he's all I've ever had. Taking my hand in his, he places it against his chest when he tells me,
You have me now, too.
I feel myself falling for him even more when I hear the sincerity in his words. Fisting his shirt in my hand, I wrap my free arm around his neck and hug him.
Let's go home,
he says into my ear, and I know that when he says home, he means his place, and I like that. Chapter 25. School started back up this past week, and so far, it seems that apart from my dance studios, classes should be fairly easy. Leaving my technique instruction lecture, I text Ryan to let him know I'm coming over a little earlier than planned, since all we did was go over the syllabus. The other day, I was looking at the matted photos that I had seen back in November, and when I asked to see more, he offered to show them to me this afternoon. I have been fixated on the photo I originally saw of the curve of a woman's back. I've been trying to not let my curiosity get the best of me, but I can't help but wonder who the women are in his photos. When I arrive, the door is unlocked, so I let myself in. I don't see Ryan when I enter, so I call out, Ryan?
Back in my office,
he yells. Walking down the hall to his home office, the door is cracked. I lightly knock before I enter.
Hey, babe,
he says as he leans back in his leather chair from behind his desk.
Come here.
I walk around his large desk as he scoots his chair back. He stretches his arms out and envelops me as I sit on his lap.
How were your classes today?
He asks as he brushes my hair off my shoulder. Uneventful, but it's only the first week. Nothing but going over the syllabus for the most part.
I'm glad you're here. I've missed you,
he says as he brings my head down so that he can kiss me.